Start when you're ready.
Good evening. I am calling this meeting to order Monday, May 23rd, 2022 at 6:05 p.m. Our invocation tonight is given by Pastor Craig Fitzer of Church on Main.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Would you bow with me? Father in heaven, we commit this meeting to you. I pray that your presence will be evident and that you will reveal what exactly it is you want to happen this evening. As there is discussion in the affairs of this community, we ask that your will be done. Show us your purpose, enlighten this committee so that they may know how you want them to accomplish each task. And we pray for bravery and standing up for righteousness, even when it may not be popular to do so. We desire your glory and blessing in all that we do. Direct their thoughts and every member here, direct their words, direct their decisions and actions towards the right path. Let your will be done as they plan and make decisions. And finally, we thank you for your great love. We thank you for the love that you have for every individual in this room and every individual around this world. Just have your way here. Be our honored guest in this room. In Jesus' name, amen.
It's all you.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Kong.
Here.
Councilmember Garcia.
Here.
Councilmember Mohovy.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Ellis.
Here.
Mayor Schwartz.
Here.
Thank you.
Public comment. Notice to the public. This time is set aside to receive public comment on matters not calendared on the agenda. When recognized by the mayor, please state your name and address for the record, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Under California law, the city council is prohibited from generally discussing or taking action on items not included in the agenda. However, the city council may briefly respond to comments or questions from members of the public. Therefore, the city council will listen to all public comment, but will not generally discuss the matter or take action on it. And so we have some public comment. If you're here for the bike park, that's coming up very soon, and you can give your public comment during that item. And if you want to have a general comment, come on up now. Megan, do you have a general comment? Megan Fuchs. And please state your name and address.
Megan Fuchs, 298 May Street, Bishop. Good evening. As I said, my name is Megan Fuchs, and I've been a Bishop resident for over 20 years. I live on the corner of May and 3rd and have been there for the past 17. My quest this evening is sidewalks. Ever since I read an article many years ago about the mayor of Bogota, Colombia, Enrique Peñalosa, and his transformation of a city through sidewalks, I've wanted to see more sidewalks in downtown Bishop. He believed, as I do, that sidewalks create community in which people have an opportunity to stop and say hello, not moving along quickly because they are walking in the street, but pausing and connecting with their neighbors. When Keith Glidewell was on this council, I asked him about sidewalks and was told the funding nor the interest was not there. So I'm trying again more directly to create sidewalks in our community. May and 3rd is between 3 high-density apartment complexes. There's the one at 3rd and Pine, May and Hanby, and Willow and 3rd. There's a stop sign on May, but not on 3rd Street. The cars go fast, and the sidewalks that are there are fairly random and sporadic. There are so many young children, students, and families walking in the street as the cars race by. The area that I live in, that we all live in, could be reimagined with sidewalks as places to safely walk, chat, and join with neighbors and the greater community in Bishop. I will end with this quote from Bogota's mayor. "A great city is one where a child walking or on a tricycle or bicycle can go anywhere." Thank you.
Thanks, Megan.
And we do have some funds going to sidewalks that we're talking about this evening?
That we're passing in the budget. Yeah.
Do you want to mention some of your sidewalk ideas briefly that we talked about in our budget? Just like
is on. The city has set aside $250,000 last year and again this year in hopes of building a large project as further down the line. But as those projects become more and more expensive, the idea of just starting to build sidewalks that will work with the new street when the street is built. So designed correctly with flow lines and ADA access. So the way it's looking right now is we're going to go ahead and move forward with doing new sidewalks. And then we've also are going to earmark our gas tax funds that we receive from the state for sidewalk repair as well. We have a lot of bad sidewalks in town too. So sidewalks are really on the top of our list right now.
and thank you for taking the time to come speak to the public. Okay, and then is anyone else here for general public comment or for the bike park? If anyone's here for general, okay, come on up. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Craig Fitzer, the pastor at Church on Main, as you may just found out, 125 Main Street here in Bishop. So I'm here on behalf of the Bishop Ministerial Association. To our city council, on behalf of Bishop Ministerial Association, representing 10 local churches, we have a statement regarding the upcoming Pride event on June 4th, as well as the general sexual clarity of our community. We understand that our perspective can easily be misunderstood. And so we would like to say that as Christians, we believe our Lord Jesus Christ sacrificed his life to invite all people into the gift of eternal life, if received by faith, no matter what our past background or behavior is. We also believe that we are called to love our neighbor, including those who disagree with us. We desire to get to know, collaborate with, and support all our neighbors in Bishop who wish to bring goodness and human flourishing to our community, no matter their religion or ethnicity. Our goal is to help create a healthy community for all, with all those who want to join in. We recognize we live in a community of rich diversity, and this necessitates respectful dialogue and collaboration. We don't think this healthy community will be made by celebrating and promoting sexual identity, whether heterosexual or any variation of the Pride movement. This movement has over-sexualized everyone, especially children, and even more so those children who have experienced sexual abuse and trauma. People with complex sexual urges need good, loving counseling, not sexuality party. All of us should be deeply concerned about the irrational sexual behavior of youth and help to safeguard our children from over-sexuality. Heterosexual extremism, homosexuality, and transgenderism have shown themselves to be damaging to many people in multiplicities of ways. A strong majority of Christian churches in our community recognize the Bible teachings and sexual celebration outside of marriage is a sin, a deviation from God's intended design of two unique persons, man and woman, coming together in a committed marriage and union. We acknowledge that all of us fall short of this standard, both homosexual and heterosexual. There is no one in our community that perfectly lives up to God's standard. We have all stumbled, whether through lust, adultery, pornography, divorce, abuse, and homosexuality. We are all in need of grace. And we confess that homosexuality has often been wrongfully targeted as particularly heinous sin, but it is not. Sexual sin of all kinds is extremely devastating, no matter the form. We cannot celebrate sexual loose behavior without harmful consequences. Taking pride in our sin pushes shame and guilt and confusion deeper into our souls and doesn't bring us the abiding peace that we need. And when our sin is promoted publicly, it encourages future generations
Okay, thank you very much.
to explore
Thank you
its
for your
traps.
comment.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to. Sure, yeah.
My name is Rick Klug. I'm a pastor here in town, but live on Rocking W. And, mine is more from the heart. I've been around a long time. You know me, I know you. The statement that was put together said, we're not against people. We're trying to foster just as much as other groups in town are trying to foster a good, healthy relationship and dialogue. And I would say I was surprised a month ago when I came and prayed. It's like, oh, this is on. I knew this was on. I was kind of surprised and disappointed at the celebration from the city council that was there. Something that we feel like shouldn't be celebrated, but should be dealt with compassion. And obviously our valley has vast different values and feelings about what is healthy and what isn't, and fostering dialogue. And it just felt like this has kind of gotten pushed. And so, yeah, churches came together and said, we just want to stand and say, we have compassion for people. We don't celebrate what we feel is a brokenness. We're all broken. But we also want to continue to work together. And I know that the statement that somebody had is, is shocking to some of you and probably made you mad. But I've been around a long time too, got family here for generations. We're together. We're going to continue to push each other and hopefully make a healthier community. So I do appreciate the work that you do. Always do. You guys work hard. And some of you are friends, been kind of longtime friends. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay. Moving on, department reports. Those were all written reports by our department heads. Does anyone have any questions regarding the reports? Okay. Then we'll move on to the consent calendar. Notice to the public, all matters under the consent calendar are considered routine by the city and will be acted on by one motion. Would anyone like to make a motion, or does anyone have any questions? Any public comments on the consent calendar?
I'll move to accept the consent calendar as is.
I'll second that.
Call for a vote.
Councilmember Kong,
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia,
Yes.
Councilmember Moholy,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ellis.
Yes.
Mayor Schwartz.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 5-0.
Right. Next up, we have our public hearings. Item A, public hearing and adoption of a negative declaration for the Bishop Bike Park. Community Services.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. I'll read our staff report really quick and then I'll turn it over to you guys to do the public hearing. As you can see, we have multiple members of the public here to speak to that as well. So the Bishop Bike Park project proposes to construct a bike park for all ages and skill levels at the Bishop City Park using volunteer labor and materials purchased through donations and grants. The proponent is proposing to convert a vacant unused area located within the Bishop City Park to build a bike skills course, which will include age-ability appropriate trail systems, jump lanes, a pump track, and obstacles, a tool shed, and proper trail signages and maps. The initial idea was introduced by Bishop High School students Stephen Poole and Wyatt Schober. They proposed the concept before the Parks and Rec Commission and the City Council, who indicated that they were in support of the project. If approved by the City Council, the Community Services Department will provide assistances from labor, machinery, and materials where feasible. Funding the materials and building supplies are expected to come from grant sources such as the Mammoth Mountain Community Foundation, as well as other local agencies and businesses. It is anticipated that local agencies and contractors with access to dirt and equipment to move and haul to the site will be enlisted to provide as much resources for building the earthen features. A volunteer effort for local riders and parents of riders who will be required to provide labor is needed to move and shape dirt into jumps, tracks, and construct wood and rock features. The area the bike park is planned is currently undeveloped and disturbed area between the soccer fields and the community gardens. The outdoor equipment center as well. The city's park master plan shows future ball field diamonds in these areas. The bike park would be dismantled if the city decides to move forward with the construction of the ball fields at this location. Since the future of the bike park is not guaranteed, the development will be handled incrementally. It is expected the construction will proceed with the pump track, skills course, and jump line in that respective order. The bike park does not propose to remove any trees. Pursuant to the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, CEUQA, staff has prepared a negative declaration for this project. The negative declaration was posted to the California State CEQA Clearinghouse on April 15th, 2022, and noticed in the Indian Register on April 16th, 2022. The 30-day public comment period has closed on May 16th, 2022, pursuant to SB 52. Consultation requirements with the Native American tribes. Consultation notices were sent to the Bishop Paiute tribe, the Big Pine Paiute tribe, the Cabazon Band of Mission Indians. No comments were received. The initial study determined that the project would not cause any significant effects to the environment. No comments regarding the negative declarations were received. However, one letter in support was received in attachment B. The Bishop Park is a regional recreation destination, and infrastructure and improvement to the parks could contribute to the Bishop's activitiness and as a destination to support community vitality. Our budget impacts, there are no budget impacts associated with the negative declaration for the Bishop Bike Park. Legal, our city attorney has reviewed and finds that the recommendation applies with the law. And it is my recommendation to the city council that they should hold a public hearing to adopt the negative declaration of the Bishop Pike Park and direct staff to prepare and submit a negative declaration to the county clerk. Thank you.
Right, at this time, I would like to open the public hearing and we can receive comments. I can just call your name off. Henry Schober. And Stephen Poole together.
So howdy, I am Henry Schober, 174 Short Street, and
I'm Stephen Poole, 2907 East Birch Street.
so basically at this current moment, we have turned in the CEQA document. We have, I believe, passed it. And the only real worrisome thing was a little bit of dirt kicking it up. But besides that, I think it was all fine. And as of our next steps, we are looking for funding donation of time, material, and money that will be coming in through different grants. So we've reached out to the COSO Geothermal. We have reached out to the Mammoth Mountain Foundation. We have reached out to Santa Cruz Bike Company. All have offered, some support. So we will be looking to turn to them now that we have passed this document. And yeah, that's about it.
That's it, yeah.
Great, thank you. Then we have another public comment from Michelle Hartshorn.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and City of Bishop residents. My name is Michelle Hartshorn. I live at 596 North 3rd Street. I'm very concerned about the bike park that is proposed near the community garden. I live on 3rd Street and my backyard backs up to the community garden. This area has seen a lot of change since I purchased the property. I purchased the property with the intention of having a beautiful view of the mountains, the wide open space behind my property. Since then, the city has put in a walking and bike path. This allows the residents to travel from the city park to downtown streets. This original project included landscaping lights along the path so pedestrians and bicyclists could see the path and felt safe walking at night. The path was completed without the lights, so at night it's pitch black unless you have a flashlight to walk by. This makes for an unsafe environment as the residents cannot see who is behind their property, and the pedestrians and bicyclists cannot see to follow a safe path. This is a real liability for the city at night. The community garden is a wonderful place to see how our master gardeners and novice gardeners grow so many native and non-native flowers and vegetables. However, after the sun goes down, a different element occupies the community garden, sometimes until all hours of the night. This element does things out there that should not be done in public. This, in fact, creates quite a bit of noise, so then all the dogs in the neighborhood bark until they leave. So the once quiet, wide open space to enjoy yourself in your backyard is no more. A solution for this would be to remove the tables at the community garden, thus eliminating the place for them to sit and gather after hours. Now, a new proposed attraction is being contemplated behind the community garden near my backyard yet again. A BMX track with no supervision, no time schedules. As you know, there are still issues with the skate park, so adding another unsupervised area to gather will ensure more disruption to the residents that back up to the new proposed bike park. I feel that there are other alternatives to implement a bike park in this area. Why is the city trying to squeeze everything into this area? Do we not deserve an open space to enjoy? I urge you to find a different location for this park or use funds designated to complete the walking and bike path to make it safe at night. As residents that have purchased property which backs up to DWP land, I know that your intention when you purchased your property was to have a beautiful open space view. Please let the residents near the park have the same. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment for the bike park? Okay. Oh, yes, please come up. State your name and address.
My name is Hugh Henderson. I live at 556 North Third Street. And my issue with it has been, for years, I have seen things built and not maintained around here. And it all falls on the city of Bishop to maintain things when, I mean, it's nice that these gentlemen want to build a skate park, but in a couple of years, they're going to be gone to school. And who's then going to be ramrodding the thing? It always, every time any one of these projects come up, it always ends up on the city of Bishop taking care of it. And if you go ahead with the master plan and put in ball fields, who's going to have to tear out the skate park, put in the ball fields? It's always the same thing. It falls on the city of Bishop. And it's just not a great decision to be building these things like this. I can remember 2 BMX tracks in Bishop already. There was one at the fairgrounds and there was one out at Mill Pond that have since just gone away. In fact, I think the remains of the one in Mill Pond is still there. And it's just always, you've got to always keep in mind, somewhere down the road, someone's got to maintain and keep the interest up in it. There's also the policing of it. You got to take care of it. You've got to, there will be those who will not want to follow the rules and run amok in it. And then someone has to be there to make sure they do. There's also going to be the issue of parking, because there's a lot of parking at the city park, but it's a long ways away from where this is proposed. People will not park in the parking spots and then walk over to where this will be done. As a result, you're going to have more parking issues in our neighborhood, which is overwrought with parking issues because of apartments with no parking in them. So I just question the soundness of a decision to do something like this, and without an organization strong enough to maintain it for many years.
Very much. Yes, please come on up.
Hi, my name is Tim Pomicata. I live at 293 East Elm Street, which means that the proposed bike park is immediately to the east of my lot. And I have, I guess at this point, a couple of questions more than and concerns. One is, and I don't see this in the plan, but will there be outdoor lighting installed as part of the project? And I don't, it doesn't seem that way, but I'd like to have a confirmation of that. I'm not sure there's anyone here that can answer that. It's not part of the plan. And then a second concern relates to the earlier comments. And I'm wondering what hours activity will be allowed in the bike park. Will it be a daylight hours only, or will people be able to use it essentially 24/7? I have some concerns about it being an attractive nuisance, similar to the concerns expressed by Michelle and Hugh. I don't know how the park intends to manage it. It would seem that they don't allow, at least at my end of the park, on the south end of the park, they don't allow a lot of after hours, after dark activities. And I'm wondering if that's how the park wants to manage this, or if it's just going to be available to whoever wants to use it at whatever time. So is there any answer to that from this body, or?
Dan, can you answer that?
So as far as hours of use, it would be daylight only. That's the way that the city ordinance is set for hours of operation for the city park. Unless it's, designed as a baseball game or an activity or an event that the city is co-sponsoring.
So daylight hours. only.
Daylight hours only.
Yes, again, there's no plans for outdoor lighting too.
Not at this time, no. So.
Thank you. You got, thank you.
Have any additional public comment? Okay. Thank you very much, everyone, for your public comment. It's very helpful when people participate in the public process, so I very much appreciate it. And I will close the public hearing, and now we can have a council discussion. What's that?
Do we need to vote on the?
No, we learned that, yes, we do
Awesome.
not need to vote anymore.
Public hearing.
Yeah. So we can call for a council discussion. Does anyone have any comments on the proposed bike park?
Yeah, I'll jump in on here. I love your concept. The use of the land, I think it's kind of underutilized, and we hope that, like you said, that someday there'll be baseball fields there. The master plan is beautiful, but in the meantime, I think this has a viable purpose. But Michelle, everyone that spoke actually brought up some points that I think we do need to look at. I know Destin, you and I had discussions about the Sierra bike path and the lighting. I think it's always been a concern. We've done, to her point, we've done projects, but never almost completed them. There's the lighting in that area, whether or not, we talk about solar lighting that can change depending on, if it detects motion, go brighter, go less, to try to alleviate some of these issues. The other concern that Hugh brought up is the maintenance component. I don't see that anywhere in here, the maintenance of this. Is this something that our city park is going to have to take on, the day-to-day maintenance, or is it in you guys' plan somewhere to have some type of maintenance to keep it clean, weeds down, grass down, trails maintained, or is this slowly deteriorate and then we're stuck with a bill? And then that would be it. Drop my pen.
So there will be an agreement drafted with the volunteer group for the maintenance of that will be very descriptive of what will be their responsibility, what will be ours. And to the point of the lights, actually on the Pine to Park path, the lights were a project killer. We had in the environmental process, the residents on 3rd Street asked for there not to be lights back there. So the lights were taken out of the project at that time.
Yeah, I thought I remembered at one time there were little.
They were going to be small 3-foot bollard lights, and they were actually asked to be removed just so that they didn't want, the night sky, dark skies stuff was why we did not, after the public hearing, remove them from the project.
But I see the point here. In order to maintain, you're gonna create not an environment, but you're creating a use and you're creating an area. are we at that next level now of solar lighting that, you know, and to the point about the community gardens, if that's a problem, I mean, I haven't heard about it before. I'd have to ask the police chief that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think, and Chief Sanders could speak better to it, but there will have to be some, you know, drive-bys, which I believe they do at this point in time. They go through and at least spotlight through the area. Because I can't remember which of the public said it, but you know, it is an attractive nuisance that will have to be, we'll have to look after it if we choose to go this direction and do this project.
Yeah, I'm not trying to beat down the project. I support
No.
what the project itself is. I think our communities change, communities morph. Needs from, to Hugh's point, yeah, there was a BMX track 20 years ago. Times change, things morph. So I support that component. I think just look around our area, it's changed. But I just have the questions that are brought up, I think are valid questions that I think need to be looked at in the grand picture. If we're going to create something, let's create it right.
Just to echo what Dustin has said, we're already in the process of reviewing all of our volunteer forms, as well as in contact with JPIA to get the correct forms and the roles and responsibilities defined between the user group and the city park for what they're responsible for and what we're responsible for. So that is already begun. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to make any comments?
I have a question to the volunteer group. Have you set up a volunteer formal organization? To
Their organization.
manage the use of this park? Is there a formal group? Yeah. But being in partnership with the city requires that you have a plan for the future. There was a good point. What's going to happen this park with the use and the maintenance once you no longer use it?
Yeah,
You need to go to the podium.
yeah.
Sorry.
So essentially, you know, I know this is kind of whatever, but we're relying a little bit on faith and our future, you know, community that we've built around us, because, you know, there are many trail systems around here like Rock Creek and, you know, Chipmunk Canyon and even Mammoth Mountain. And, you know, all those trail systems have a really beautiful, like, strong community in them. And I'm believing that we can bring a lot of that community to our bike park. And, you know, there's a lot of young kids who are learning how to ride bikes. And that's what we want to foster is, you know, young kids who are learning. And we hope to hand this off to them and, you know, give them sort of a, you know, chance to grow up with the bike park, if that makes sense.
It does, and I'll encourage you to get your parents or other young folks engaged with you, with your project, and create an organization that can keep working in the future with the city in dealing with residents' concerns and other things to improve it over years. We don't want a bike park that is going to be there for 5 or 10 years, and after that, it just needs to be removed. If we're going to do something, let's do it right, as we are saying, but kind of a homeowners association. I'm not saying that you should charge kids to use it, but have an organization that in the future is going to deal with, in partnership with the city, and deal with any issues that may happen.
Okay, understood. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, Matt Schober, 174 Short Street. So I'm helping out with this project. I'm, you know, trying to get the kids involved and let them do this public speaking, because I'm probably just gonna brain freeze up here and freak out. So I'll just settle down for a second. But to answer your question, yeah, it's a very good point. We do need a volunteer group. Right now, I have a list of enthusiastic people that includes other parents, other bikers, And everyone's, asking me on a regular basis, hey, when are we moving Dewar? When's the bike park going to start? When can we do something? So we've been waiting until we got through the CEQA process, which is long and difficult, before we really started our efforts to get a group together. But you're absolutely right. That's going to be a critical thing to keep this thing moving forward after these guys graduate, and we get the next group of kids. But I think that's not going to be too difficult. And that'll be, that in the back of my mind, that's been one of my tasks to do, is to solidify that group. It's been shown in any other kind of trail building effort in the mountain bike community that that's one of the key things to have. And that works for partnerships with the local agencies and landowners. And of course, with the city of Bishop, we're going to need that too. So yeah, and I would just, I didn't speak earlier, but I'm just going to say that I give my wholehearted support to this effort, and I think it's going to be successful. We are going to take it one step at a time and see how it goes. We don't know, how we're going to do for fundraising, and we'll just have to, start making those connections and see, who's available to help and what projects they can take on. So I think the first thing we're going to do is build a pump track, and that would be a proof of concept. Hey, we got materials, we got people, we got some coordinated effort, and we built something, and see, that it's positive and people are using it, and go from there.
Yeah, our job here is to listen to everyone and to support a good cause. And I am for activities to keep our kids healthy, active. And I think a bike park is better than nothing, and having kids doing other not healthy things.
Great.
And having a formal organization will help in passing that on to the next generation of children. You may have activities, tournaments, or weekly or monthly or once a year activities where you invite other kids from out of the area, or have categories, 5 to 10 years old, 10 to 15, whatever. Have those kind of activities when you get more people engaged. That will be my recommendation.
Yep. Thank you.
I really support this project. I think having kids doing activities outside the phone and the tablet is huge. I think mountain biking is very popular right now. And, it could be 10 years where mountain biking isn't popular, and then we see the bike park go away. And I think that's actually okay. I think having the community be involved in an effort from a ground up effort is phenomenal. And if it just becomes small and it's not that well used, then, no big deal. But I think we've got to give it a go, and we've got to give it a try and have the kids have something to do. And I think having a bike park in town where kids that are old enough to ride their bike from home to the city park is huge, versus having to go have their parents drive them to Rock Creek or Chipmunk. And it is our city park where activities like this need to take place. It's our community center. So it's the logical place for something like this to be. It's the logical place for a bike park to go, is in our city park. So I really support it, and I really appreciate your effort. And I think we do need to listen to the residents that live behind the bike park and really address their concerns. And if there are nuisance issues, then we will address those. And if the city has to put in some money for maintenance, that's what we're here to do, is to support parks and recreation. And so I don't think it's the end of the world if we have to give some money to support or maintain a bike park in the future.
I mean, to follow on that point, how much money do we actually spend on supporting the swimming pool? A lot. It's a sink. Like it's not something that is that's paying dividends. And but we do it because it's something the community members want, and it's something the community members use during the summer months. And so I don't think in any way any sort of funding that the city would be using for maintenance of this would pale in comparison to what we end up spending at the pool. And we do that. I do think there are valid concerns that are brought up. A couple of questions that I have is those concerns, would they be any different if we were to follow the city master plan and put ball fields there? And I don't think they would. A lot of the concerns that were brought up is about not about wanting to maintain kind of a wild nature there. And if we were to follow through with the city master plan, that wouldn't be the case, and those ball fields would be lit. And so you would have people there into the night producing more of a nuisance. And so, I mean, I guess the question in front of us, and somebody correct me on the process here, aren't we supposed to be discussing about the negative impact declaration of CEQA?
Yeah.
And these concerns, they're valid. I don't know that they actually fall under the CEQA
They actually do,
concerns.
Stephen.
Where?
Under aesthetics, under community noise, there's.
But I think to Councilman Mahovey's point is that tonight we're just adopting the negative declaration in the CEQA process. An agreement and the details of how the park will work, who will maintain, that will come to you at a future meeting for your approval at that time. So tonight, just approving or not approving the CEQA document is where we're at. And then there's a lot more work to do going forward of an agreement with these folks.
So I just want to say, the best thing about community members continuing to participate is that now, assuming that we pass this document, now the group, the boys, they have an idea of what the concerns are, and they can move forward in a way that will hopefully mitigate those concerns. Not to get too off topic, but I'd be interested to know, are the benches that Michelle was worried about, are they ours, or are they're the community gardens benches? Okay, so I think that could be something that maybe needs to have a discussion, maybe not from us, but to the community garden people. If it's a nuisance, if there are people gathering at night, it might be an interesting discussion for you to bring to them, Michelle, because I think that can be a concern. I don't.
No.
No.
Yeah, we can.
That it's an interesting problem that I had not occurred to me before, as far as people gathering in those areas at night or when they not necessarily should be. So I appreciate you bringing that to us. And as far as the negative deck, I think it's an open field. There's no trees we're cutting down. I think we're good to go. So.
And it would only be operational during daytime, which is when anybody can be in that field anyway.
Hugh, I'm sorry, Jim. Hugh, Mr. Henderson, thank you for the excellent comment about the maintenance of this proposed park. I'd like to say something that it may not be well received. Lately, some of the projects that have been proposed at citywide or countywide have been received by our residents as, that's great, but not in my backyard. And we need to realize that some things that county and city are trying to do are for the benefit of the community. But that some of us may not like it, but change, it's painful sometimes. But this change, I believe, is for the good. We are trying to support a good thing. We think this activity, it's a good thing for our community, for our teenage kids. So like I said, some people may not like to hear that, but in a lot of things, not just for the city, the county too, when the county were discussing the homeless temporary park at the church on West Line Street, 100% of the comments were, great, help the homeless, but not in my backyard. So, like I said, just wanted to say that. Jim?
Yeah, Jose, yeah, not in my backyard is I understand it. Not in my backyard done wrong. Yeah, I completely understand it. But change does necessarily, we go back 50 years ago, they probably didn't want to see anything in Bishop. Change happens. People come here, people move here. Our world's expanding.
well, population wise, size wise, nothing. So, but mitigate it, let's get it right. To Matt and Stephen and Wyatt, I love what you're doing. Word of advice to maybe help you out. It has nothing really to do with this, but it'll help you in the whole process. I'm part of a group called Sierra Trash Eliminators. We started with a small little group about a problem. I think we're at 1,400 members now. Within that little group, people have taken on responsibilities, roles, specialties. They take on different responsibilities by themselves, and it's grown into a group. We speak to schools, we go out and deal with problems. It's helped here at the city. The restrooms you see on Highway 6 came out of one meeting with one lady, one small group. So my suggestion to you guys if you want to move this forward, create your Facebook page, create a group, show when you come here to talk to us and there's 3 of you in support of it, the strength is not there. I'm trying to help you. Create the group, create the strength, create the team to actually make this work. I want to see you succeed the same as I can hear my council. Bishop needs good things. We want to see you make it. Get the group together, get your numbers together, build a team to help us help you. Sound fair?
Michelle, did you have another? You come on up.
So I was just saying, please don't misunderstand me that I don't think a BMX park is not a good idea, because I do. But the problem has been is once it's established, no one monitors it. And I don't want to be the monitor at night. And that's what's happening with the community garden. And like I said, the park, the bike path, the walking path, it makes it very difficult to have a nice evening because you're constantly getting all the dogs barking, and then the other dogs are barking, and so my problem is when you put in something like this, it's great when you say it's off at dusk, but that's not necessarily the case. Like with the community garden, there are people there. I don't want to call every single night and say, okay, they're there again, and it's 10 o'clock. So what I'm suggesting is maybe push it back a little away from you have 7 acres, right? Is it 7 acres total? Am I saying that? Do I have that right?
I don't know that by heart.
I don't know what the acreage is, but is it 7 acres? So move it back from the houses, give it a buffer, because you even have parking like it where the community garden is. You put parking spaces on that diagram. And I'm like, okay, so then they're going to start the cars up and then the dogs start barking again. So I'm just saying, I'm not totally opposed to it. I'm just saying, remember that we have to live there. And we bought that property because we wanted it to be peaceful and quiet. And so far, it's not turning out that way. And I don't want to be the monitor that has to call the police. Can you come by and shine your lights again? Because they're still here and they have music going and it's 10 o'clock. And so that's my issue. When it gets dark at the bike park, there's nobody there to say, okay, everybody out. So do I have to keep calling? That's my issue, really. So that's why it's good to have a plan, because are you going to use police funds to keep monitoring that? So that's something you have to think about as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Valid points, Michelle. Thank you.
Great comments from everyone. Any other comments from the council?
Yeah, and I mean, I think to Michelle's point, the details of the park of what would be there are forthcoming at a future meeting, and I think for this particular document, it like even having that discussion of how it ends up being laid out in the end, this document would happen anyway, is I think the point that I was making. So I think those are valid points.
I
We
think,
can look at it.
yeah, I think we could pass a document. It's good that the discussion is taking place. That's what our job is here. The fact that we're not doing it on Zoom and in public, it's good to see the faces and what? I'm not a Zoom fan. No, but it's good to get the feedback, and I think the communication going. In an earlier discussion tonight was to talk about discussion and bringing people together. I think we've done it here. Did you guys hear everything that's been said? Then there we go. Good job. We've heard it. I think let's make it happen. So I'm good.
Have to pass it.
We have to
Yeah.
pass it.
I would like to make a motion to adopt. Yes, it does.
Just give direction. So are we voting?
It's an
Yeah.
action item.
So we first approve it and then we give direction.
Yes.
Yes.
We're ready to.
I would like to make a motion to adopt the negative declaration for the Bishop Bike Park.
I'll second.
Call for a vote?
Councilmember Kong,
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia,
Yes.
Councilmember Moholy,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ellis,
Yes.
Mayor Schwartz.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 5-0.
And do come back during like the
Please.
during the rest of the process. I think that would be because it's something great for the community, and we definitely want to make sure that everybody's voices are heard
Yeah, please.
and that whatever
please
concerns
stay
we can
involved.
address. Yeah.
Appreciate everybody's comments tonight.
Please stay involved. We want what's best for the community.
Okay, let's move on to our second public hearing, which is a public hearing and adoption of a proposed resolution approving a taxi franchise application pursuant to Chapter 5.28 of the Bishop Municipal Code. Public Works.
Good evening again, councils. So sorry for the confusion. This is the same Mammoth taxi that we dealt with back in December. We went through the process, held this public hearing, decided that there was a need for a taxi company. At this time is when all the prices, everything in the world was really going up, and the fees that he was proposing to not exceed has since changed, and there was no mechanism within the franchise agreement to allow him to raise fees without coming back to another public hearing. So with that said, everything stays the same. We still have the same agreement with him. We're just allowing the fees to go from $25 for an in-town trip to $35. And then I believe there's a not to exceed of, for some reason, I'm drawing a blank on that number, $150 per hour for all of their services. These are only for taxi services that originate within the city limits as well. So anything that happens at the airport and does not come into town, we have no oversight over. The applicant has actually submitted everything he needed up to this point that we required in the last one. Again, this is just to basically looking at fees. And the city will realize a 2% fee for his gross sales every year, pretty minimal. And I believe that the last public hearing, we decided that we did see the need for a taxi service within the city. So with that said, I would recommend the council hold a public hearing to determine whether or not public convenience and necessity require the issuance of such franchise. If the public necessity and convenience are warranted, council adopt a resolution by title only granting Mammoth Taxi LLC a franchise to provide taxi service within the city and authorize the city administrator to execute the franchise agreement on behalf of the city.
Is there any public comment on this item?
Is there any public?
Oh,
Yeah.
no, I invite public comment first. Okay. All right, so there's no raised hands, so I'm going to open the public hearing. Does anyone have any comments on council?
Can we move the airport unloading zone closer to town?
If there's no public comment, we're going to close. the public
Oh, got it.
hearing.
All right, I'll close the public hearing since there's no comments. Now we talk. We can move the airport or we can just annex the airport.
We just need the disembarking area to be annexed. The rest of it, they can have it.
My only question, I mean, so effectively, this is the same one that we passed in the past, same provider, but who is still not yet operating. And so this just changes the fee structure for that particular franchise. If we don't approve this, then does the old one still stand?
So the old one was never executed. He just got to the point where he had all of his documents submitted to us, everything he needed, and then it was never signed because of the fee, the discrepancy in the fees. And it is an operating company out of Mammoth, and they do go to the airport. They just cannot pick up passengers within the city limits currently. He's coming to the airport, dropping people off in town, which is fine, or Mammoth, but he can't pick somebody up at a motel and take them to the airport within the city.
We'll need that, so.
Yeah,
With this, he can.
yes.
You go to Creekside, pick someone up, drive them to the airport,
Correct.
get 2% of a,
And then as well, he could, if he's waiting on flights, he could take on call in the city and provide, other forms of transportation besides just the airport.
So can he not drop off in Bishop either right now?
He can drop off in Bishop. It cannot originate within the city limits.
I guess my biggest frustration is I wish he was here to talk to us.
Agreed. He knew what was going on tonight.
I see no issue with it. I'd be happy to move forward.
what's the term on it?
3 years. So the intent is right now that the fees will, the maximum, those are maximum fees. So he will not, at least right now, I'm told, he will not charge the 35. It'll be something between 25 and 30. But this allows him to raise his fees over the next 3 years, so we don't have to do this process every time. Or if they do get to 35 this year, there's no mechanism to raise them again for 3 years.
And this doesn't stop anyone else from having a taxi. It doesn't make him exclusive.
No, it doesn't. Anybody else can come, anyone else can come and go through the same process.
Okay, that was my biggest worry.
New York City medallion.
Yeah, it's not an exclusive rights.
No, I like your point, Karen, because that's why I asked about the contract. Is this for 3 years, we got to put up with whatever we get and have no recourse? But if someone can do it better or whatever.
Or maybe we get rid of the whole franchise eventually and just let it be a normal business license in the future.
I like or the $2,000 is cool.
Yeah.
I personally would like that. I would like to see us go that direction, because there's a lot of management involved with these franchise agreements, and it's burdensome on both sides for the small amount of funding that we'll receive for it.
Is there a benefit to us even passing this if we could just redo an ordinance to go with something else?
I think at this point, and he's not here to speak for himself, but he's wanting to get started. The airport's coming back online again here soon. And he said that he actually does have a fair amount of calls within the city limits that would like a taxi service right now. So I think that this is probably the best way, and then we can work at rewriting the ordinance in the future for a business license method.
Does Dial-A-Ride provide services to the airport, from Bishop to the airport?
Yes. Well, you can go from the airport to somewhere, but I would think so.
Dial-A-Ride would,
Yeah,
yeah.
Dial-A-Ride. Yeah.
Yeah, Dial-A-Ride, I think there's Moz, what's that?
Well, given the
Mammoth
fact that
all-weather service. There's and to be clear, there's a difference between a shuttle and a taxi service.
Yeah.
Shuttles are regulated differently than taxis. So yeah, there's other forms of transportation. It's just that I think that I've learned people like to get picked up and be ready, somebody there, pick them up, take them to their, and vice versa without waiting for the public.
I would like to reduce the workload for you guys. So since the applicant's not here, I would like for us to see if we can change it to a business license instead of the.
And I agree. I think that this is probably the best route to get started now, and then we can work on changing that. But it'll require nearly the same amount of work, to change the process. And it could take him months before we got him a license again.
Fine.
Thank you though, Jose.
Who wants to make a motion?
Else really wants to make a motion that, I make a motion that we adopt the resolution by title only. Here, Robin, granting Mammoth Taxi LLC a franchise to provide taxi service within the city and authorize the city administrator to execute the franchise agreement on behalf of the city.
I'll second that.
Call for a vote.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Bishop, State of California, approving a taxi franchise pursuant to Chapter 5.28 of the Bishop Municipal Code. Did we call for public comment?
I did. There was no public
All
comment.
right, thank you. That's right, because it's a public hearing. Got it. So motion passes 5-0 if I didn't say that.
We didn't call for the vote.
Oh,
It's been a long day, Robin.
it has. Sorry.
Our attorney to shake this-
Councilmember Khan,
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia,
Yes.
Councilmember Mahovey.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ellis,
Yes.
Mayor Schwartz.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 5-0. now.
See, you were right in the first.
Okay, new business. Item A, Planning Commission, council consideration to reappoint Hari Bhakta to the Planning Commission with a term ending July 10th, 2026.
And promoting Harry Bhakta, and also Patricia Liu, should they wish to make comments.
Always been on the other end of this picture.
All right. So I'll be happy to address this next. Sorry. Doing 3 different things at the same time. Good evening, council. According to the City Council Policy Manual under Section A3 Commission Appointments, procedure for filling vacancies on the Planning Commission and the Parks and Recreation Commission, it states, and I quote, "Except as otherwise determined by the City Council, approximately 2 months before the expiration of an existing term, the city shall advertise and seek applicants for the upcoming vacancy. Notice of the advertisement is to be provided to the council members. Incumbents as well as new applicants are encouraged to apply," end quote. Under upcoming vacancy, should they wish to consider reappointing the current commissioner, Harry Bhakta, whose current term ends on July 10th, 2022. Attached to your staff report, Planning Commissioner Harry Bhakta addressed a letter dated May 6, 2022 to the City Council requesting to be reappointed. Harry Bhakta has joined us tonight. Should council have any questions for him? And Planning Commissioner Chair Liu has also joined tonight's meeting should she wish to make any further comments. Unless council has any further questions for me, staff recommends council consideration to reappoint Harry Bhakta or Harry Vanden P. Bhakta to the Planning Commission with a term ending on July 10, 2026.
Robin, we don't see Harry. Is he
He-
not be promoted or?
Nope, he hasn't.
There he is.
Thanks.
I'm here.
Harry, do you have any comments?
No, madam, no comment. I couldn't connect before to video and to the microphone. So now I press some button and I'm live again, as a, joining the meeting right now, Mhm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Council have any comments?
I just want to thank you for considering another term. We really appreciate your service and thank you so much for being part of the public process.
You're welcome. Thank you, thank you. Mhm.
Anyone else have any comments or questions for Harry?
No, I'll just second you. Harry, you've done a great job on there. You bring a good voice to the decisions and your insight to the business community and just Bishop in general. It's you bring a lot to the team, and thank you. I'd be happy to have you here one more time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I ditto what Councilmember Ellis just said. I'm one of the newer members of the Planning Commission, and I appreciate Commissioner Bakhta's insight on small business owning and also his many years of service in volunteerism. Bringing those insights to the Planning Commission is just very helpful for me moving forward, and especially now that I'm chair and Commissioner Bakhta is the vice chair. So I have some guidance from those who sit around me, and I'm very grateful for his guidance.
Thank you, Patricia.
Right. Is there any public comment?
I do not see any raised hands.
I'll make a motion to reappoint Harry Bakhta to the Planning Commission with the term ending on July 10th, 2026.
Second that.
Call for a vote.
Councilmember Kong,
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia,
Yes.
Councilmember Mahovey,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ellis,
Yes.
Mayor Schwartz.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 5.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thanks, Harry.
Thank you, Councilmember. Thank you for your support.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to the general municipal election. Council consideration to adopt resolutions relating to the general municipal election to be consolidated with the statewide general election scheduled on Tuesday, November 8th, 2022. Administration.
Okay. Thank you. I'll take this. All right. According to the City Council Policy Manual under section, wait, I'm reading the same thing over again. Sorry. All right, we're going to the November 2022 general municipal election. Before you tonight are the following 3 resolutions, which facilitate the City of Bishop general municipal election to be considered consolidated with the statewide general election scheduled on Tuesday, November 8, 2022. This year's election will be for the purpose of electing 2 members of the City Council for the full term of 4 years. Mayor Schwartz and Councilmember Mahovey's 4-year terms expiring in November 2022. Wait, I should be switching over to Dias. There are 3 proposed separate resolutions attached for council's consideration. First, a proposed resolution that calls for the holding of a general municipal election to be consolidated with the Inyo County statewide general election on November 8, 2022. Second, a proposed resolution that requests consolidation with the County of Inyo. The consolidation process has been completed to combine city municipal elections with Inyo County elections. Since we are officially calling for the holding of our election, a request needs to be made for this specific election cycle. And third, a proposed resolution that sets forth the candidate's statement guidelines. Upon council's consideration to approve the proposed resolution that calls for the holding of a general municipal election to be consolidated with the Inyo County statewide general election on November 8, council needs to consider how to deal with the event of a tie vote. So that will be addressed with the first resolution you have in your packet, item 9B1. And then if you look under section 7, you'll have to choose between sentence 1 or sentence 2. In the event of a tie vote, if any 2 or more persons receive an equal and the highest number of votes for an office as certified by the County of Inyo Registrar, Recorder, County Clerk, the City Council, so you may choose sentence 1 that reads, in accordance with Election Code Section 15651A, shall set a date and time and place and summon the candidates who have received the tie votes to appear and will determine the tie by lot. Or you can choose sentence 2 that reads, in accordance with Election Code Section 15651B, shall conduct a special runoff election to resolve the tie vote, and such special runoff election is to be held on a Tuesday, not less than 40 days, nor more than 125 days after the administrative or judicial certification of the election, which resulted in a tie vote. So again, the proposed resolution has both sentences outlined for council's consideration to approve the proposed resolution by title only with the addition of sentence 1 or 2 to complete section 7 of the proposed resolution. There are no anticipated economic impacts on this item. Costs associated with running a consolidated election with the County of Inyo since November of 2012 has saved the City of Bishop thousands of dollars. Conducting a consolidated election with the county's recent voting technology upgrades has made the process even more efficient and cost-effective. The cost to the city by consolidating with the County of Inyo to conduct the November 8, 2022 elections should not exceed $3,000. Also, as mentioned above, relating to this item 9B1, should the council decide to conduct a special runoff election in the event of a tie vote versus by lot, just drawing straws, the cost to conduct a special runoff election can cost the City of Bishop tens of thousands of dollars. A current estimate by the Court Recorder's Office was $60,000 to $70,000. Assistant City Attorney Jones has reviewed this item and finds that the recommended action complies with the law. Council consideration, my recommendation is to adopt each resolution individually by title only in order to facilitate the general municipal election to be held November 8, 2022. So we can start with item 9B1, which is the first resolution in your packet. And we can work our way down to item 9B2 and then item 9B3.
As 3 separate motions.
They're 3 different, yes.
All right.
This will be
Is there any public comment on this general municipal election?
Do not see any raised hands.
Well, I would be in favor of not spending $60,000 to $70,000. I don't know what
Yes.
you guys think.
Second that.
I'd also be in favor of not spending $60,000 to $70,000, but I feel very constricted by just having 2 choices. Can we, if there's a tie, is there, where does it say we have to be a 5-member board? If there's a tie, can't they all serve?
Says we're a 5-member board.
That's what's written in our municipal code.
Is
a
it?
5-member board. Yeah.
Bring that
And-
up at the
And
Supreme
then we have to
Court.
follow the government code, which states why we have to break ties this way, the 2 choices. So that's where that comes from.
Sure. But we have other legislative bodies with even number of members.
I don't believe
Don't make
that's any-
things so complicated.
Yeah, I don't believe that's any, I don't believe that's any part of here, Stephen.
Maybe.
I know it's not,
you'd have
but
to- you could
I don't
probably
like
have an
being
election
constricted.
measure
Then vote no.
to Change that.
So Robin,
Yes.
by lot, it means that they're just gonna put their names in the hat and draw? Draw, okay.
Whatever. Flip a coin, however, it's, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Now, let's see. So I gotta keep.
I like that. All right. Any other questions, comments?
Go for it.
No, I'd like you to go for it before Stephen makes one that sentence 1A.
Okay, I'll go. How about that?
Okay.
I would like to adopt the proposed resolution by title only with the addition of sentence 1 to complete section 7 of the proposed resolution.
I'll second that motion.
I'm trying to do 3 things here. All right. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Bishop, State of California, calling for the holding of a general municipal election to be held on Tuesday, November 8, 2022, for the election of certain officers as required by the provisions of the laws of the State of California relating to general law cities. Councilmember Kong,
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia,
Yes.
Councilmember Mohovi.
I think the more the merrier, no.
There you go.
Mayor Pro Tem Ellis.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 4-1.
No,
Yeah, yes, oh, yes.
Yes, thank you. I was so anxious to do that.
We're throwing everybody off their game.
Councilmember Mohovi says no. Mayor Pro Tem Ellis says
I voted yes.
yes.
They're 4-1.
And Mayor Schwartz.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 4-1. Okay, now I gotta break note. Hold on. Good.
I'll make a motion to for item 9B2 to adopt the proposed resolution by title only.
I'll second that motion.
That was Jim Ellis. Okay. All right, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Bishop, State of California, requesting the Board of Supervisors of the County of Inyo to consolidate a general municipal election to be held on November 8, 2022, with the statewide general election to be held on the date pursuant to section 10403 of the Elections Code. All right, Councilmember Kong,
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia,
Yes.
Councilmember Mohovi.
The more the merrier, yes.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Ellis.
Yes.
Mayor Schwartz.
Yes.
Thank you.
We're giving you
Motion
a 2-day
passes
target.
5-0.
And I would like to make a motion to approve item 9B3 to adopt the proposed resolution by title only.
I'll second.
Okay. A
Call for vote.
resolution. Okay. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Bishop, State of California, adopting regulations for candidates for elective office pertaining to candidates' statements submitted to the voters at an election to be held on Tuesday, November 8, 2022. I just want to say there's no other hands raised, and I didn't see any other public comment on all these. Councilmember Kong,
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia,
Yes.
Councilmember Mohovi,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ellis,
Yes.
Mayor Schwartz.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 5-0.
All right. Woo, got
Thank
through it.
you.
Made it.
Russell, are your other cities this fun?
Absolutely not.
Haven't heard from you yet. It was surprising.
Okay, moving on to item C, a proposed resolution amending the general plan. Planning.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. I'm returning to you this evening to give you an update on the revisions that have been made to the housing element, and to ask that the council adopt the housing element and direct staff to resubmit it to Housing and Community Development. I'll start with just a really quick review summary of the housing element and its importance, and then I'll go over what changes have been made, what that process looked like, and what the commitments of the city will be over the next 8 years. So you may remember that every city in California is required to have a general plan. Within that general plan, there's 7 mandated elements. One of those is the housing element. It's required by the state of California to be updated every 8 years. This is the 6th cycle housing element, and the current planning period for that is 2021 to 2029. The housing element is a planning and policy document, and it sets the city's housing strategy for the next 8 years. It is required to have HCD certifies this, and we need to be in compliance with that HCD certification to be eligible to apply for any sort of housing grants through Housing and Community Development. And that will include the different loans and grant programs that our development partners for Silver Peaks are pursuing. The housing element is also supposed to be consistent with state law. I brought the housing element before you, consistent with the state's timelines, in August 23rd of 2021, and it was submitted to Housing Community Development, or HCD, on August 26th. They have different review periods that they're allowed to take to review and provide comments. It's a 60-day review period. So on November 24th, the City of Bishop received correspondence from HCD rejecting the housing element as submitted, and requiring a number of changes to be made to the document. And nearly all of those changes reflect legislation that was passed since the 5th cycle housing element. There's a large amount of legislation that's now required for housing elements, and most of that addresses what's called affirmatively furthering fair housing laws. So some of the comments that we got from HCD specifically requested that we provide a comparative analysis of all of the housing and conditions for low-income housing residents with our neighboring jurisdictions, that we identify and add additional goals and metrics for how we would meet affirmatively furthering fair housing, or AFFH goals. They requested more elaborate analysis of our sites inventory, which is the sites that we identify to demonstrate that we can meet the regional housing needs allocation requirements. They requested policies demonstrating conservation of low-income housing. And then they also required that we put specific metrics to the housing income, the housing units that we would preserve, construct, and conserve by different housing incomes. Staff worked with our consultant, Sandra Bauer, closely with HCD to address those comments. And we resubmitted another draft to Housing and Community Development on March 28th, 2022. Oh, I'm sorry, that's when we got our comment letter back. We did it before. And then we got another comment letter back, again, rejecting our housing element, largely again, because they wanted a more robust analysis of the affirmatively furthering fair housing conditions in the city of Bishop. And in particular, this would focus on an analysis and a demonstration of neighborhoods that are dealing with discrimination and segregation, that there's disproportionate outreach from the city in our fair housing policies. And staff worked with HCD to try and demonstrate that the city of Bishop is approximately 2 square miles and that all neighborhoods have relatively similar access to opportunities and services. We did work again with the consultant to address all of the comments that they had, held several meetings with HCD, and they have recommended at this time that on the basis of the revisions we've made, we could take it to before the council for a second adoption. They did request that in our resolution, we would include that the city council authorized staff to make minor changes if necessary, and suggested by HCD before they would certify the document. I realize that we're having a long agenda this evening, but I do want to take a little bit of time to bring to the council's attention the goals and the actions and the metrics that we have included in this revision that we will be obligated to be constantly getting data on and reporting on. These are metrics that the city is going to be accountable for in 8 years. And again, a lot of these really, all of the focus of their comments was on this AFFH legislation. So there are several goals you see in your agenda packet and also included in the Appendix B, which focuses on the affirmatively furthering fair housing policies. There's policies there to increase outreach, to develop websites and brochures about different policies and distribute them into the community. There is goals and metrics for monitoring and reducing environmental risks. One of the analyses that is included in this document required by HCD was an analysis of CalEnviro rankings for exposure to sensitive exposure to different contaminants. The city of Bishop ranked disproportionately in some of those, including things like low birth weight. And so we will be required to be monitoring those over 8 years and reporting on our progress year over year in improving those metrics that the state is measuring. As I mentioned, we are also required to identify specific metrics and quantities for preserving and conserving low-income housing units, but also across all income levels. One of the opportunities that was brought to our attention by HCD staff in trying to identify policies that would satisfy that legislative requirement is a fund that's known as the Permanent Local Housing Allocation Funding. And that is a small fee that is put on top of recording documents. When someone records something at the clerk recorder's office for a real estate transaction, there's a very small amount that's set aside for the city of Bishop in an allocation. We currently have about $128,000 in that fund that can be used towards housing policies. $128,000 doesn't build us a lot of housing, but it could gain us some ground in developing a grant or a loan program to help people with coming up to code and preserving housing or conserving housing units. We are also including policies to allow for by right affordable housing. This is not something that I think will be a heavy lift for the city of Bishop, because if someone proposed an affordable housing development, we probably wouldn't tell them not to build it. We have very, very low hurdles for people who want to build housing. We will have to monitor and report back on the development of each housing unit by income level, which we do every year anyway, but in particular by neighborhood, and which going back to the different metrics of opportunity, access to opportunities that we have in the approximately 4 census districts in the city of Bishop, sort of how we're demonstrating that these low income units are not being segregated into a particular portion of the community. We also included policies to address poverty within the city of Bishop. A lot of that included partnerships with the Job Spot and the Bishop Resource Center that's going to be opening to try and address job creation and adult education. In addition, we included a policy to implement broadband for low-income communities. There's policies in here to allow for amnesty for currently unpermitted ADUs, reducing and waiving fees for low-income housing units, which is something that we already have in a memorandum of understanding with the Silver Peaks project. And I think that largely covers it. And I do feel like it's necessary for the council to just be aware that the state of California is going to be holding us to demonstrating progress on each of those goals over the next 8 years. In addition, they, as I stated before, requested that we provided increased analysis on each of the sites inventory. So I wanted to bring it to council's attention. There's a map in the agenda packet labeled available sites inventory. In the previous housing element that was adopted, there was, I think, 7 sites that were identified there. In the comments with HCD, it appeared that if you included a site in the housing element and it was not developed in that planning period, they might put further restrictions to increase affordable housing development there in the future. And given that we are able to demonstrate that we would meet the regional housing needs allocation without the extra sites, I assume that we just not open them up to HCD scrutiny in the future. I would also like to bring it to the council's attention that of those available sites in the map, 3 of those we have current projects proposed for. So one is the nursery development behind the nursery on Home Street. Those housing units can count towards the next RHNA cycle. So we will include those in this current 6 cycle housing element. The Silver Peak site is also identified here. That's where we will probably be able to make all of our gains for our low income and very low income housing requirements. And then there's a small property that a private developer owns with a proposal to put apartment units on it. The other 2 properties, which sit on either side of the Silver Peaks property, are properties that are owned by the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. And so in conversations that the city council may have with DWP about potential properties for future development, those are low hanging fruit relative to others because we will have an existing project between them that's proposed for development. That infrastructure will be in place and they already have all the zoning, so no further entitlements will be required for those properties. I did not include in my staff report an analysis of economic impact because I was using an older staff report template. But I would just say that housing is economic development for all communities, and it is difficult to have economic development without an investment in building new housing. I'd also like to highlight it under the budget. The implementation of this housing element, these housing strategies will require capacity for implementation, ongoing data collection and annual reporting to HCD. And that the major strategies that are identified here are implementing the mixed use and specific plan that is in development. That was something that was very popular with HCD. They're very supportive. And despite the fact that they rejected the housing element twice and gave it a very critical review, which is not unusual for any of the housing elements under review currently, they commended the city of Bishop for the progress that had been made in the last 8 years, or I think it was 6 years for the last cycle. The second strategy to try and accomplish in the next 8 years and focus on is implementation of the Silver Peaks project, or a development on that property that the city has secured from DWP. 3, working with DWP to identify additional sites and get them to commit to sites for housing development. And then finally, as City Administrator DeShawn mentioned earlier this evening, identifying surplus city properties that would be suitable for housing development in the future. That concludes my overview of the housing element and the revisions that were made. At this time, I would request that the City Council adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of Bishop, amending the general plan to add the 2021 to 2029 housing element, superseding and replacing the existing housing element, and allowing for staff to make minor revisions if requested by HCD. Thank you.
Wow. How do you plan on measuring all of the metrics and milestones that HCD requires?
So some of those were very difficult to identify metrics for. Some of them are things we collect information on currently. So every year we are required to do an annual planning report that comes to the City Council, usually in late March. So we track building permit data, which will allow us to track the permits for housing rehabilitation and also conservation, as well as new housing units that are constructed. I will add to that in the future that we'll make a note of, we will have to start tracking, are there's owner occupied, are they renter occupied? What is the approximate rent going to be? There are different tools that HCD makes available to make assumptions about sort of which income level it falls in. And then we also will be able to track that address to make sure that there's not segregation against in different areas of the community. Some of these metrics we did try and keep as flexible and broad as possible. I did speak to HCD on several occasions to tell them that we have a limited staff and that we need to spend more time building housing and not as much time, gathering data and measuring against policies. And so, like I say, a lot of these things we can just report against in the annual planning progress report. Things like the CalEnviro screen is updated by the state, and we will just, try and track if there's been reductions in some of those metrics that we were unusually high in comparison to other communities. And some of these things we also tried to keep on a high level, such as there was a concern about exposure to pollution, and there was a nexus that was identified that had to do with truck traffic in town. And so we put forth the goal that we would work with Caltrans to identify strategies to move the truck traffic out of town. And so the metric there is simply to get projects on the funding list with Caltrans to address those issues.
Thank you.
Wave Tam for public comment.
Okay, public comment.
Jeff Griffiths, I'm going to promote him now. Jeff, you can go ahead and unmute.
I want to state for the record, for the minutes, that HCD is the worst agency in the state of California.
For the record, okay.
The rigmarole that the planning department run through is just completely ridiculous. And they're an agency that is in charge with making housing, affordable housing, available in the state of California. And everything that they do actually puts up roadblocks to that and prevents our local agencies from providing housing. And I commend Elaine for stoically going through all of the really stupid comments that they have made. But So I encourage you to adopt this, but just to state for the record that this is a bunch of ridiculousness that doesn't actually create housing in our area. That's my comment. Thank you, everyone.
For the record.
Yeah, please.
I mean, Elaine, given that what you're saying about them holding things against us and then penalizing us, I think it was completely the wise decision to like scope down what properties we're going to be going after, I think. And yeah, kudos for you for going through this.
Yeah.
Great work, Elaine.
Elaine, I appreciate you jumping through the hoops, and I have to probably echo a lot of what Jeff's saying. Some of these elements in here, these milestones, yeah, there's people who are poor here because housing is so expensive. It almost works against itself. So as a council, I know it's on our strategic planning meeting. It is on one of our top priorities to look at housing and find ways out of this. As to echo a lot of what Jeff says, they throw the roadblocks in front of you to make it almost impossible to meet what they ask you to do. I'm looking through numbers here, and we've done this lots and lots of years, and it seems like we get little baby steps ahead. And I would hope that we can. I hope that we can break the game and start jumping ahead. And I thank you for your work on this. I know it's been a pain to get it done and jump through all the hoops, but I think now that we're there, we need to make real effort and priority within our council to start making changes in our city.
Welcome.
So Elaine, I have a question or two. So we've all established this is ridiculousness, right? I guess my concern is if we don't get some of these things done, what kind of dings are they going to do? So for me, the one that stands out is the website hits, right? We're going to set a goal number for people looking at the website, their website. If nobody looks, what are they going to?
I'll set up a bot.
You'll set up a bot?
Yeah.
Okay, problem solved.
Problem solved.
No, but I'm just wondering, because there's some of these things are so out there. Like if it was me, I think I would make the Caltrans truck route one even less specific.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, when I spoke with the HC, I have stories. When I spoke with the HCD guy, he was like, "We love this. Get that truck bypass done." And I'm like, "That's not in the
How it
realm of reality."
works. No.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, one of my favorites was that they, had in Calvin virus screen, we had low birth weight as an example, and they're like, "What is the planning department going to do about that?" I'm like me? Done everything.
I promise none of the babies I have will be low birth weight.
Yeah, so I don't have a really good answer for that. I apologize.
No, it's fine.
What they have said is, we will be required to fulfill the things we say we're going to do. They have suggested that we would not get penalized if we don't meet those metrics. But at the same time, as I said, I thought that we were demonstrating a real effort to comply by going above and beyond and identifying additional sites. And then they're kind of like, well, if those don't get developed, then
right.
And so who knows what kind of legislation that.
Okay, I just wanted it on the record that we think this is overkill on their part, but we also don't, I don't think we want to, as a city, get knocked upside the head.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. And I'm trying to keep our obligations as conservative as possible.
We were just comparing baby birth weights.
Yeah,
We're all doing our part.
I thought I heard that wrong, but no, they are asking us to do that.
It's one of the metrics and data points, and then affirmatively furthering for housing is measuring the Calvin virus screen and how we can make improvements.
I actually looked at those today because I was wondering what they were. And I was shocked at how awful our water rate is. How can they say we have terrible water?
Yeah.
That one, I mean, everything else I probably couldn't argue with, but that one I was like, maybe we're supposed to get to 100. Maybe that's where we're supposed to be. Like, okay.
I concur.
Thank you, Elaine.
Um,
Any
make-
other public comment?
I see no further public comments.
I'll make a motion to adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of Bishop amending the general plan to add the 2021 to 2029 housing element, superseding and replacing the existing housing element.
I'll second that.
Call for a vote.
The resolution of the City Council of the City of Bishop, State of California, amending the general plan to add the sixth cycle housing element, superseding and replacing the existing housing element. Councilmember Kong.
Hold on just a sec. I believe you said and allow staff to make the necessary changes.
It's in the resolution.
It is included in the resolution.
It is. Okay, thank you. Just wanted to make sure. Thank you, Robin.
I'm going to say yes.
Councilmember Garcia.
Yes.
Councilmember Mohovi.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ellis.
Yes.
Mayor Schwartz.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. And I just would be remiss if I didn't take a moment to thank Sandra Bauer for really going above and beyond to help us as well. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to item D, a proposed resolution amending the fiscal year 22-23 budget to incorporate a list of projects funded by SB1, the Road Repair and Accountability Act.
I would like to make a motion to approve. Oh, we need to have.
Ice?
No,
I'm good
let's
with
get-
that. I like your side.
I mean, we all agree with this, so let's.
Yeah, so again, it's a formality that the state makes us do this for transparency. This year, I'm surprised as the funding coming in has gone up, fairly considerably, from 76,000 to 89, almost $90,000. That's the RMRA money that I spoke of earlier that we will use to fund the repair of bad or faulty sidewalks throughout the city. With this money comes a resolution that we have to pass and a projects list. I'd like to note, just for the record, to be able to change, I had neglected to change the costs for the sidewalk safety to $89,000 from the $76,000. And then I also always paid off dividends 2 years ago. We have our earmark money for Warren Street that we have a match on. Well, I did the same thing 2 years ago and included this Spruce Hamby sidewalks project and it turned out to let us be able to do the entire project using that funding. So in order to be able to use it, has to be listed in here. That's the main reason. We intend on doing sidewalks, but it's there if we need to. And again, the economic impacts to that is actually with the gas tax, we get HUDA money, the highway users tax account, and 112,000, I think, ish that we use towards salaries for road maintenance. And we also get to redirect general fund money to other projects and use instead of sidewalk safety. So at this time, I'd like to recommend the council pass by title only the resolution adopting the list of projects funded by SB1, the Road Maintenance and Rehabilitation Act.
Any public comment?
I see no raised hands.
All right, Jose, it's all you.
It's on me.
I think this is
Now let me
like
find it.
Now,
instant gratification for a public comment at the beginning of a meeting ever.
I would like to make a motion to pass by title only the resolution adopting the list of projects funded by SB1, the Road Maintenance and Rehabilitation Act.
A second.
Call for a vote.
Resolution to adopt a list of projects funded by SB1, the Road Maintenance and Accountability Act, fiscal year 2022-23, City of Bishop. Councilmember Kong.
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia.
Yes.
Councilmember Mohovi.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ellis.
Yes.
Mayor Schwartz.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 5-0.
City Attorney Retainer Agreements, Administration.
All right, so back in 2014, the city of Bishop contracted with Jones Mayor to perform city attorney services on a monthly retainer amount of $5,500. In 2017, the parties amended the agreement to increase the monthly retainer to $6,500 to be effective January 1, 2018. Jones and Mayer is currently providing general legal services under this structure. The proposed amendment number 2 will increase monthly retainer amount and hourly rate for special litigation and paralegal services. Proposed amendment 2 will also add an automatic cost of living adjustment provision into the agreement to be effective in 2 years. If approved, the funds will be added in the fiscal year budget, which we have already incorporated these in anticipation. The recommendation would be to approve amendment number 2 to the city's retainer agreement for city attorney services with Jones Mayor. And I might also add, we just got the same letter today. Councilman Mahovey and Mayor Schwartz with BBK, they have an increase of 5.8% this year. So this is nothing unordinary we're seeing, actually less than.
Okay, any public comment?
I see no raised hands.
I think Jeff got booted.
Any comments from council?
No, Jones does a great job and I'm happy with him. So
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve amendment number 2 to the city's retainer agreement for city attorney services with Jones Mayor.
I'll second your motion.
Call for a vote.
Councilmember Kong,
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia,
Yes.
Mayor, Councilmember Mahovey,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ellis,
Yes.
Mayor Schwartz.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, moving on to fiscal year 22-23 budget. Council consideration to approve and adopt the proposed fiscal year 22-23 budget. All right. You.
Yeah. Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council members. We conducted the annual budget workshop today, and city administration and fiscal staff. Actually, I'm messing this up. What we'd like to do is, wow, sorry. Well, as you know, we had the workshop today, and we would like you guys to approve the presented budget.
Right, any public comment?
I do not see any raised hands.
Comments from the council?
I just want to commend the staff on doing such a great job. There were, I mean, I think it's a sound budget. It definitely focuses our priorities on investing in the future of the city and on a lot of actions that the public has been asking for. I mean, we're focusing a lot on sidewalk improvements and actual projects around town, and then investing in future planning and getting a bunch of projects shovel ready and just like setting a foundation for the future. So I definitely want to commend you guys on that.
Well said. Thank you very much, both of you. Whole department head team. Well done.
Thank you to everyone in your department.
Yeah.
Five donuts.
All right. No public, I already asked for public comment, correct?
There are
Yes.
no
All right.
public
I'll make a motion to adopt the proposed 22-23 city budget.
Second that.
Call for a vote.
Councilmember Kong,
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia,
Yes.
Councilmember Mahovey,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ellis.
Yes.
Mayor Schwartz.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 5-0.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Thank you, council.
All right. Future agenda items. Anyone have anything? Yes? All right.
Yeah, a few members of the public have reached out to me and on a couple of items. On two items. One, I remember in the past we said we were going to get a presentation on something about the lights that are going in on residential streets. I don't think I've seen that because basically they're complaining that they're extremely bright and blaring into their houses, which on our street is kind of true. So that's one of the things. And then there have been a lot of, recently I've been hearing a lot of complaints about how obviously we know housing prices have been skyrocketing, and in particular about many properties that are purchased and sitting vacant. And so can we agendize a discussion on what actions we can kind of do to try to limit that?
Good. I'm good.
I guess I would like to, the next meeting or the meeting after, talk a little bit about the idea of maybe our super valued department heads don't have to sit in the back of the room if they don't have an agenda item.
No.
Where would you like them to sit?
I would like them to be able to go home to their lives if they don't have an agenda item that's up there, that's on the agenda. So that would just be me.
What if
What?
What if they don't want to go home?
If they don't want, I didn't say we were going to force them to go home. I just think that they're, that they have lives and lots of stuff to do. And unless we need them for something on the agenda, it doesn't make much sense for me to have them sit back there.
I don't want to argue, but like in some of the public comments, it was good to have them here to
Absolutely.
to answer those questions. So
No argument here.
there is a value to have them here.
We almost should seriously charge them for this kind of excitement.
Oh, okay.
Use it vacation time to come here.
All right.
No,
Just me.
I agree, and I think to that, Councilman Garcia, I would trust our department head's sense of judgment, and if there's nothing that looks controversial, maybe we'll just be aware of it, and if there's nothing that's coming up that we can see on an agenda or something, maybe that would allow for them not to be here, just depending upon where we're seeing and what's going on.
I just think it might be worth a discussion. That's all.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Okay.
Do we want to follow the county's lead and do a Pride Month proclamation?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Up our next meeting.
Mhm.
We have all of June.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have some language that we can add. While I was gone, actually, in between our previous meeting and today, I received some feedback, not from our community, but in regards of being inclusive.
Okay, great. All right, council and committee reports. Jose.
Then I'm going to answer your question. What's in your hand?
A gift
Where is
from
that
you.
from?
A gift from you.
Yeah, but you asked earlier, where is this from?
Yeah, I did
Well,
ask you.
yes, so I'm going to
Okay, yeah.
answer that question. So in your pen, it says right there, Chiapas.
Oh, right.
You,
okay,
you
that says-
pronounce Chiapas. Yes, Chiapas. Chiapas is a state in Mexico, one of 32 states, and it's in the border with Guatemala. So I had the privilege of spending 1 week as a volunteer, part of the development of a medical mission in Chiapas, where two OBGYN doctors from Bishop have been going to Chiapas, to a very remote area in the mountains of Chiapas, to teach obstetrical medical emergencies skills to nurses, midwives, and doctors living in this community. And we were there for a week, 2 doctors, 3 interpreters, teaching a group of 18 individuals between nurses, midwives, and doctors about taking care of patients sometimes at home when people choose to deliver their babies at home. So while I was there, I visited another city where I was able to find a lot of souvenirs like this. And I wanted to bring you something from a state in Mexico, Chiapas, very remote area, where it's primarily indigenous people who live in these communities. So that's what it is. I don't have a report from the committees that I attend over the last couple of weeks, but I was there. Like I said, it is a privilege being able to help these communities, teaching them some valuable skills. So that's where Chiapas is, and that's what the pen came from.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Karen.
So I had COVID and spent the last 2 weeks in bed. So that's my report. No meetings, nothing like that. Just, sick.
Glad you're feeling better. And
As am I.
Yes.
You went to LAFCO this morning, right?
I did go to LAFCO this morning and it lasted all of, a little bit of time, and we passed the budget and then we all went home. Steven?
Couple of things. Yeah, Jose, that's a great project. Shout out to the Rotary Club.
Rotary Club,
who has
yes.
been doing it for the last few years through an international.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. The Bishop Sunrise Rotary Club has been working with what is called in Spanish the Tuxtla Gutierrez Oriente Rotary Club, one of 7 Rotary clubs in the state of Chiapas that they put together this project, and they receive funding from the Rotary Foundation.
Yep.
Over $400,000, I believe, have been spent almost, and there is one more trip, maybe 2, in the next 6 to 12 months to these doctors who will go to either perform surgeries for these patients, female patients, or teach surgery skills to doctors down there. So yeah.
Yeah, and the doctors are also local doctors at NIH.
Yeah.
So
yes.
Yeah. I attended the LTC, the Local Transportation Commission, and the main discussion that was had there was about the memorandum of understanding between KernCog and the Mono LTC. It was a long discussion, but the bottom line is that the state has made it hard to benefit from the MOU in the near future for the projects that are slated for it. But KernCog owes Inyo LTC about $7 million, which is preventing us from starting other projects. And so we are starting to figure out how to navigate. We gave staff direction to do a bunch of background work and try to navigate it.
And KernCog is what?
The Kern County Council of Governments.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. So they handle transportation in Kern County. And I mean, I'm sure you guys could tell a little bit. I was rattled a little bit at the beginning of tonight's meeting. And I am going to take an opportunity to talk a little bit right now. So please bear with me. We heard people here talking about compassion. And an integral part of compassion comes from understanding. And understanding people and understanding the real meanings behind certain events. Like Karen, either one of you. In how many states in this nation of ours can you be fired from your job just not because of the quality of your work, but just because you're a woman?
0.
Jose, how many states in the nation can you be fired just for being Hispanic?
0.
How many states in the nation can you be fired simply not based on the work that you do, but simply for being gay and who you love? 29. 29 states. And we talk about like, oh, Pride, it's just this big party. No, Pride started in 1969 when transgender drag queens were sick and tired of being beat up by the NYPD and thrown in jail just for being who they are. And they finally said enough and started to fight back. It is not a celebration of diversity. That's what it's become because we have managed to make so much progress in that realm. But there is still a lot of progress to make. And when it especially is painful, when people come up here and talk about sexual deviance and how homosexuals are responsible for child molestation, there is no evidence for that. You can look at reports from the Department of Justice, reports from the National Health Institute. There is zero evidence for that. Yet at the same time, just yesterday was a story about yet another church congregation, the Southern Baptist, being convicted or being like hiding child molestation. And so and at the same time, you manage to like overlook members of your flock who are registered sex offenders. And you come in here and like say that, just purport all of these lies that are not founded. And that's just extremely hurtful. And are these really the values that you want us to all represent in the city? I don't think so. And so I'm just going to end by saying, like, I hope none of you ever have to sit there and just be quiet when somebody is up here saying that you are a child molester.
I'm sorry, that was horrible to have to listen to.
Yes, Stephen, yes, I echo that, Karen. I am really sorry. And I think all four of us and everyone in this room is very sorry that you got hurt, that someone, a leader of a faith group, said those things in public. I wanted to say something right then. One of the 10 Commandments, you shall love your neighbor as you as you. And-
Maybe we should make it time to stop the invocation.
Yeah. I mean, let you without sin cast the first stone.
Yes, I'll
Stop
agree with,
scapegoating people for that sort
I
of.
agree with you, Karen.
I think it's time to stop
Yeah.
the invocation. I think we have to change an ordinance, but that's,
Maybe we should put that on a future agenda item.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I
If
don't
we need to,
think
if we
it's an
don't have to,
ordinance, it's
we just take it out.
we've looked into it.
by
We have to
ordinance.
change an ordinance.
Okay, fine.
So,
Yeah.
that's all I have to say.
We thought I was amazed at how calm you stayed during that. I don't know if that had been me that they were attacking, that I could have stayed that calm. I was pretty impressed.
You know
with
what?
your-
All I gotta say is, been doing it my whole life.
But you know what? You're not alone. At least I felt the aggression too. It wasn't directed towards me, but because it was in public in front of us, I think it was an aggression to all of us. So I sympathize with
He
you.
was abusing his position as
Yeah.
a pastor.
Yeah, but yes,
Well, they all were. To be clear, he was representing be clear, he was representing the Bishop Ministerial Association.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just him. It was, they made a concerted effort that they wanted to say these things in public. And that it's,
they had their
Frankly,
chance and we have
inappropriate.
our chance too.
yep. And I think I agree,
Time
we
to
should
not invite him
respond.
back.
And all I gotta say is, talk about leading with compassion, reach out. Reach out. Not one of those members of the Ministerial Society has ever reached out to me to find out what kind of struggles I've been through.
Yeah.
Or anything about my background. You
No.
talk about compassion and empathy, that comes with understanding.
We're all humans. You're human. And the issues that we have, the emotions that we go through, you go through. We're all the same.
That's all I gotta say.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Stephen.
That's great. Thank you for saying something in public. We're all waiting on you, Jim.
I was asked that.
Just take me back to police department days, the abuse. Stephen, well spoken. Yeah, I don't have as much to say. Wow. I went to ESTA meeting last week. it was a pretty quick meeting. Just the one thing that will affect Bishop. And it's shows we had a bus service for 5 years now, Karen, 4, up to Bishop Creek during the summer months, spring and summer. Goes till into September, I believe. And it's been pretty underutilized service and kind of a losing proposition for ESTA. We were going to shift priorities and discontinue the service, but there was a great public outreach. So as you see tonight, our system works. When the public speaks out, that's how you get heard. Stephen's speaking to the same thing here. Little voices multiplied a lot, is what makes impacts. So through all these voices, we came to a conclusion to keep the bus service. It's going to be modified a little bit as far as time and the rate. We were pretty much undercharging a lot for bus service. So it's going to be modified, but to meet the public request, and we found a compromise. So it will continue at least one more year. And so if you know people who want to go rock climbing or fishing or see a fish, they should, they should take a bus, please. So that's about it for me. And I look forward to seeing you guys at all the events coming up.
Yeah, we have mule days. They're coming through town.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna be at the parade.
That's right, with the parade. I actually had an employee that got COVID, so all my meetings I had to cancel since I was covering. So I missed the ESTA meeting, and I also missed the all the US is it naturalization ceremonies? What is it called when they become US citizens?
Naturalization.
Naturalization. So I missed,
Yeah.
I wasn't unable to attend the naturalization ceremonies or ceremony. And that is it for me. We will see each other Monday, June 13th, 2022 at 6 p.m. here at the City Council chambers.
What is high school rodeo, sir?
Again, I know, Stephen, I'm glad you said something. I'm really sorry. I didn't know if I should just cut him off, but I was like,
Good night, all. Thank you for an efficient meeting.